Hello, and welcome to the Calculation Success Module Introduction. My name is Dr. Seth Daly. I am a Lecturer 3 at the University of New Mexico College of Pharmacy in the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences. So this success module is designed for my P1 students in their 703 course, which is the Intro Calculations course in their first year. It's also really useful for P1s through P4s when you're prepping for your calculations key assessments or your CKA exams that happen in the spring and the fall. So this is just going to explain how you utilize this module successfully. If you're not a UNM student, unfortunately I can't give you access to the Moodle pages, but I'll pop up links above my head here and give you access to the PowerPoints, and they will also be down here in the video description, so look for those. So, suggested resources. So I'll be teaching out of the Stoklosa and Ansell's Pharmacy Calculations 16th edition. There is an Amazon link here if you'd like to buy that. It's got a lot of useful practice problems, and the answers are in the back, and it's a great tool to use when you're studying. The next thing that's really useful is some sort of tablet, or so like an iPad or a Surface. I'll be using a little document tablet so that I can write equations as I'm going. And the nice thing about this is it gives me the option to erase as I'm going to make things really easy and smooth. So if you have one of those, it's really easy to follow along. But if you have pen and paper, that's okay too. Old school still works. Just make sure you have lots of scratch paper so you're not erasing or crossing out pen and ink all the time. The next thing is a calculator. We're going to be doing calculations. One of the important things is make sure that it can store answers as you're going along. So usually this is something like an answer key. But you can also just store it as you're going along by not deleting your previous work. And this is really important because on the NAPLEX, we don't round until the last step. Now, sig figs are important, and you'll find that out if you are doing specialized pharmacy. But for the NAPLEX and for what I'll be teaching, we're rounding at the very end. Okay, so we're bringing all those decimals forward until that last step. All right, so for my UNM COP students, we'll be using 2 pages on our Moodle. And so the first one is the Pharmacy Calculations page. That's part of 703, but it has a standalone page, and let's go ahead and look at that. And so if we take a look at that, here's what it looks like. And so you'll have your syllabus and schedule, lecture capture when I start giving lectures. This is a link to the success module, which we'll get to next. And then you'll have the blocks as we progress through the course. So there's the lecture, where you can turn in your homework, and then the practice quiz, which I'll be talking about in a second. This practice quiz is here for you to take, and this is the one that your grade will be based on, but it's also in the calculation success module if you're a P1 through P4 and you want to take that same quiz. All right, so we can click the calculation success module here, and it brings us to the calculation success module page. So there's links broken down by resources, videos of me with all the lectures I'm teaching, and then I'll start adding lectures in for the P2, 3, and 4 years with that additional math that you're learning. There's a question bank, and there's randomized quizzes, okay? Now, these are really important because they include answers and the solutions, and I'll show you how that works when we get to it. Next up is a help forum. So if we click in here, you can actually, and just like any forum, add a new topic and say, hey, I'm having trouble with converting percent strength, and show them your math. And then hopefully we'll have someone come in who's a helper, and I'll try and moderate and get in there if students can't, but it'd be great if you guys could work together and solve problems. Next up is a feedback submission, and so that's here, and yours will look a little different than mine, but you can click here, and this is useful for things like, did you find an error in one of my calculations questions? Do you think a problem type is missing? Is there something you'd like to see? Do you want to send me a direct message and schedule to talk about test anxiety or what study habits you should have? Or if you want to have a one-on-one tutoring session, you can submit us feedback here, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right. So we're going to look at these individual modules. So resources. If we click that, scroll down. So here's another link to buy the textbook. There's some video lectures here with calculations, and it has a good problem set. And then a NAPLEX review guide that also has calculations in it. The NAPLEX calculations question bank that's part of the CKA you can access. And then here's a YouTube for the person who started the 1001 calculations book. It's another good book that has a lot of questions and answers. And so if you want to get that too, that's a good practice book. And then here's a TikTok of someone I really like, and they go through all sorts of PharmD practice content, but they also have a lot of calculations, so you can use this. And then lastly here are the CKA documents for when you're going through the CKA process. Next up, practice question bank. Okay, so if we scroll down, you can actually write your own question here. So it's actually really good practice to write your own question because you have to come up with the idea, show how to do the math, tell me where to round, give the final answer and the rounded answer, and I'll check those, and if they're right, I'll add them into my question bank. Next up is the all questions quiz. So if you don't want to go to quiz 1, 2, 3, or 4, which are part of your blocks, you can come here, and this is all the questions. So the first page is block 1, second page is block 2. Now, what's really interesting about these problem banks is if we actually go, and we're going to go to the last page, so 2, this is quiz 3, quiz 4, we're going to hit finish. And so when we submit, it's actually going to show you if you got your answer and the units right. And if you didn't, it gives you the step-by-step for how this works. Now, what's really important is these are randomized numbers. So each person's going to get a different exam, okay? And that will actually translate here to the one that you received when you were taking your exam, okay? Now, one caveat I'll tell you is it might say round to 1 decimal place, like right here. Now, you're not supposed to use trailing zeros, but in this case, it came to a smaller number than we were able to use, and so we're going to input a 0.0. So that's just how it was designed, and I'll work to correct those so that we're not getting such small numbers. So you can put a suggestion in there if you find a question that does that. Here's one where it's rounding correctly. So 2 decimal places, and we come right out to 2 decimal places, and that one worked just fine. Okay, so that's really useful as you're practicing these questions. All right, next up, we have the introduction. That's where this video is going to live. And so it's an introduction to the success module, and then I'll have some videos on general algebra, rounding, and estimation. And the next block is block 1 of our class, where we're talking about the metric system and unit conversion using ratio, proportion, and dimensional analysis. So there's nothing in here yet except for the practice quiz. So my old lectures are here. I'll update that with a new lecture in the video as we move along through the course. So stay tuned. And when we get to the end of the course, all this content should be filled in. Okay. There's also some unit conversion flashcards when you're trying to learn those right at the beginning of the year. Okay. Blocks 2, 3, and 4 just have their quizzes right now because I haven't gotten to teaching those and I haven't recorded the videos. These remaining topics I'm going to fill in as we go out throughout the year, and these are going to be things you've learned in your P2, P3, and P4 year, things like biostats or E-values or osmolality or the Cockcroft-Gault equation for kidney function. So those kinds of things are going to live in here. So basically, come to the landing page, go to the part you need to learn, and find the video and the lecture that helps you. Okay, so let's switch back to that PowerPoint. And so on the PowerPoint, these are the 2 links, and again, I'll post them up above my head here so that you can click them on the YouTube video. And then the slides will be posted next to the relevant videos or lectures in the Moodle. Now, if you're a non-UNM student, I can't give you access to the Moodle. That's just the way it works. However, I'll make sure to put a copy of the PowerPoint in the video description down in that corner, so you can click that and at least follow along with the PowerPoint. If you guys have any questions on how any of this works or what I was talking about in the lecture, you can always email me at sdaly@salud.unm.edu, and we can set up a time to meet if you're one of my students. If you're not one of my students, I'll try and get back to you, but my students have first priority, and I hope you guys are successful in your calculations.